Throughout history, some people became legends because of their talent, but others became legends because of the dark stories surrounding them. Sam Cooke became one of the greatest voices in music history, but rumors followed him about a mysterious rise to fame and a tragic ending that still raises questions. Tommy Johnson, who vanished for a time, then returned with a talent so incredible that people claimed he made a deal at the crossroads. He became one of the first musicians connected to the terrifying legend of selling his soul for success. And then there's Niccolò Paganini, whose violin skills left audiences baffled and were whispered to be not of this world. Were these just stories created by fear and imagination, or is there something darker hiding behind the music? They called him the King of Soul. His voice could move millions of people. He went from singing in a small church to becoming one of the biggest stars in the world. But behind the fame, the money, and the legendary voice of Sam Cooke, there was a darker story. A story filled with impossible success, strange rumors, and a mysterious death that still leaves people asking questions decades later. Some people claimed his talent was too extraordinary, his rise was too fast. And like many legendary musicians throughout history, rumors began spreading that maybe his success came with a hidden price. Some even claimed Sam Cooke had encountered something dark, something beyond the ordinary, and that he had spoken about meeting or communicating with a sinister force. But were those stories real? Or were they just myths, created around a man whose talent seemed almost impossible? Sam Cooke was born in 1931 in Clarksdale, Mississippi. From the beginning, music was part of his life. He grew up singing gospel, surrounded by the power and emotion of church music. People noticed something different about him. His voice wasn't just good, it was unforgettable. By the time he became the lead singer of the Soul Stirrers, one of the most respected gospel groups of the era, Sam was already becoming known as someone special. But Sam wanted more. He believed his voice could reach people far beyond the walls of a church, so he made a decision that changed his life forever. He stepped away from gospel music and entered the world of popular music. At the time, many people criticized him. Some believed he was leaving behind something sacred, but Sam saw an opportunity, and that opportunity turned him into a legend. Songs like You Send Me, Chain Gang, and A Change Is Gonna Come made him one of the most influential artists of his generation. He had fame, he had wealth, he had influence, but throughout history, whenever someone reaches unimaginable levels of success, dark rumors often follow. The idea of musicians making a deal with the devil has existed for generations. It became a legend, connected to artists whose talent seemed almost impossible to explain. People looked at their success and wondered, how did they become this famous so quickly? And from that question, stories were created. Sam Cooke's name eventually became connected to those rumors. Some claimed he had spoken about encountering a dark presence. Others claimed there was a deeper story behind his rise to fame. But there has never been proof that Sam Cooke made any deal with the devil, or that these stories were anything more than rumors and folklore. Still, the legend became part of the mystery surrounding him. Because Sam Cooke wasn't just a singer, he was becoming something much bigger. He was a businessman. He wanted control over his music. He wanted ownership of his work. At a time when many artists had little control over their own careers, Sam fought to build something that belonged to him, and that made him powerful. But success also brought pressure, and on December 11th, 1964, his story took a tragic turn. Sam Cooke walked into the Hacienda Motel in Los Angeles. By the end of that night, the King of Soul was dead. He was only 33 years old. According to the official investigation, Cooke became involved in a confrontation at the motel office after a series of events involving Elisa Boyer. The motel manager, Bertha Franklin, claimed Cooke forced his way into the office and attacked her. A struggle followed. Franklin shot Cooke, claiming self-defense. The death was ruled justifiable homicide. The case was closed, but many people were left with questions. Fans struggled to understand how someone at the height of his career could suddenly be gone. Some questioned the details surrounding that final night. Others believed there had to be more behind the story. Over the years, theories spread. Some claimed powerful people wanted him gone. Others connected his death to the darker rumors that had followed his career. But none of those theories have ever been proven. What is certain is that Sam Cooke changed music forever. He broke barriers, he inspired generations of artists, and his voice became something that could never truly disappear. But the mystery surrounding his life remains. A man who rose from humble beginnings, a man whose talent seemed almost impossible, a man surrounded by rumors of fame, darkness, and secrets, gone before he ever reached the full potential of what he could have become. Maybe the stories about dark deals were nothing more than legends, created around a man with extraordinary talent. Maybe they were simply a way for people to explain something they couldn't understand. But one thing remains true. The story of Sam Cooke continues to fascinate people because it leaves behind the same haunting question. How does someone become a legend? And why does their story sometimes end so mysteriously? Before legends of musicians selling their souls became famous, there was a man whose story helped create the myth. His name was Tommy Johnson. He was a talented blues musician from Mississippi who became known for something more than his music. People said he had a secret about how he became so good, so quickly. They claimed he went to a crossroads in the middle of the night, and there, he met something waiting for him in the darkness. Something that offered him everything he ever wanted, but demanded a terrible price. Tommy Johnson was born in Mississippi in 1896. Like many blues musicians of his generation, his life was surrounded by hardship. The blues came from pain. It came from struggle, poverty, heartbreak, and survival. For Tommy, music became a way to escape the difficult world around him. He learned guitar and began performing across the South. At first, he was just another musician trying to make a name for himself. But then something changed. According to the stories told by people who knew him, Tommy Johnson suddenly became an incredible guitar player. His skills seemed to appear almost overnight. People who heard him perform couldn't understand how someone could improve so dramatically. And in the Mississippi Delta, where stories and legends traveled quickly, rumors began spreading. Some said Tommy had discovered a secret way to become great. Others claimed he had done something much darker. The legend says that one night, Tommy Johnson walked to a lonely crossroads. The road was empty. The night was quiet. And there, according to the story, he met the devil. The mysterious figure supposedly took Tommy's guitar, tuned it, and played a song. Then he handed the guitar back. From that moment forward, the legend says Tommy had extraordinary musical ability. But the gift came with a price. His soul. There is no proof this meeting ever happened. The story became part of blues folklore. But what makes Tommy Johnson's legend different is that people close to him helped spread the story. His own brother, Liddell Johnson, later repeated versions of the tale, saying Tommy himself claimed he had made a deal at the crossroads. Whether Tommy truly believed this, or was simply creating a powerful stage persona, is impossible to know. But the story followed him everywhere. And the strange part was, Tommy's life seemed to match the darkness of the legend. He became famous for his wild performances. Some people described him as unpredictable. He struggled with alcohol. He lived a difficult life. And despite his incredible talent, he never achieved the worldwide fame that some of his music would later deserve. Then, in 1956, Tommy Johnson died at only 59 years old. Unlike many legends, he did not die at the height of fame. He died after a lifetime of struggle, but his story survived. Years later, musicians and historians look back at Tommy Johnson as one of the pioneers of the Delta blues. His influence could be heard in generations of music that followed, and the Crossroads legend continued to grow. Because Tommy Johnson's story represents one of humanity's oldest fears. The idea that extraordinary power always comes with a cost. Maybe the Crossroads story was just a legend. Maybe it was a way for people to explain a musician's incredible talent. Or maybe the reason these stories survive is because deep down, people have always wondered the same thing. If someone could have everything they ever wanted, what would they be willing to give up to get it? And what price would they have to pay when the music finally stopped? They said he could play the violin, like no human being alive. His fingers moved so quickly that audiences couldn't believe what they were seeing. And eventually, people stopped asking how he became so talented. They started asking something much darker. Had Paganini made a deal with the devil? Niccolò Paganini was born in Italy in 1782. From a young age, he showed extraordinary musical ability. But as he grew older, his talent became almost unbelievable. He could perform pieces that were considered nearly impossible. He played with such speed and precision that audiences sometimes struggled to understand what they were witnessing. The part of a dark legend. He was extremely thin. His face was pale. He wore dark clothing. His long hair surrounded his face. When he performed under the stage lights, some spectators claimed he looked almost supernatural. Then the rumors began. People whispered that no ordinary human could play like Paganini. Some claimed they had seen a shadowy figure standing beside him during performances. Others said they heard strange sounds coming from his violin. And eventually, the most frightening rumor began spreading. Paganini had sold his soul to the devil. The story became so widespread that some people reportedly refused to believe his talent could come from anything else. There was even a legend that a mysterious figure had been seen helping him play. Of course, there is no historical evidence that Paganini actually made a supernatural deal, but the rumors followed him throughout his career, and Paganini's own personality only made the legend darker. He rarely explained his techniques. He understood that mystery made people more fascinated with him. He became one of the most famous performers in Europe. Crowds gathered just to see him, and wherever Paganini went, the rumors followed. When he died in 1840, the controversy didn't end. His reputation had become so closely connected with the devil legend that even his burial became complicated. Church authorities initially refused to allow him to be buried in consecrated ground. His body remained unburied for years, while his family fought for permission to give him a proper resting place. Eventually, Paganini was buried, but the legend survived. Today, historians understand that Paganini was an extraordinary musician who pushed the violin further than most performers before him. His talent can be explained through years of practice, unusual physical ability, and incredible technique. But imagine sitting in an audience in the 1800s, watching a man move his fingers faster than you thought possible, hearing a violin scream through the darkness, and knowing absolutely nothing about how he created those sounds. Maybe you would believe it was genius. Maybe you would believe it was something supernatural. Because when talent becomes almost impossible to understand, people don't always look for an ordinary explanation. Sometimes, they look toward the darkness.